Welcome back to Third Phase of Moon. Blake Cousins here. The Drudge Report. A lot of things are breaking right now, and it has just dropped a lot of information in regards to this disclosure. Are we going to get it? Is there a cover-up? Is the history of ufology being destroyed? It seems that a lot of people on the other side have a different narrative of what's going on in the major media, and I've got Michael Schratt with us, and he notified us a little earlier, just a few moments, that Drudge Report just dropped, and we're going over it right now. Buckle up, everybody. It's going to be a wild ride due to the fact this is liquid. This story is happening right now, and unfortunately, it seems we're not going to get any answers. From what I'm hearing from this report is that the government's going to deny everything. They're stating that we don't know what it is. It could be biological. We don't know if it's mechanical. Nada. We're not going to get nada. Michael, what's your thoughts on this, report? Are we going to get anything from these guys?
Gentlemen, it's great to be with you. Yes, we've been all following it, ticking down the days, waiting for this big report. And what it looks like right now, if you really drill down and look at the wording, look at the narrative that's being presented here, is it looks like they're trying to whitewash away 80 years of research. People that have come and gone, people more important than you and me, have tried to crack this so-called cosmic Watergate. And it looks like they're denying the history of ufology, is what it looks like. And we'll just give two examples. And this is from our own American test pilots, our Navy pilots, our astronauts. Gordon Cooper in 1951. Over 2 consecutive weekends, there were squadrons of UFOs flying over his West German air base. So it was he and his wingmate tried to intercept these discs. They were silvery, they were disc-shaped, they had a dome on top, approximately 40 feet in diameter, and these craft were making just otherworldly maneuvers, turning on a dime, stopping immediately, making right-angle turns, backing up. They could not intercept these things. So this is in 51. Later in 57, Gordon Cooper is at Edwards Air Force Base when a 35-foot diameter disc-shaped craft hovered over the dry lake bed, extended its landing gear, landed on the dry lake bed, sat there for about a minute and a half, hovered back up again, retracted the landing gear, and flew away. And gentlemen, they have it all on motion picture film reel. Where is that video? Where is that motion picture film reel? And all the other things, all the other gun camera footage they have. It just looks like they're trying to sweep 80 years of ufology under the cover here, under the carpet, and we'll never know. That's what it looks like to me. But these other cases, they just can't be denied because of the credibility of the eyewitnesses.
So what you're saying, Michael, and it's unfortunate because it seems that there's been a lot of research, 60, 80 years of it, and there's a lot of people involved. They've spent their whole lives trying to get down to the answer. And right now it seems that they're just going to disregard all this evidence and just is going to be deniability and drop it. Why would they not go with this information, these reels of film? Why are we demanding that kind of information and the video evidence, the film evidence?
I see what they're saying, right? They're trying to say that, we don't know if it's biological, we don't know if it's mechanical, but at the very least, don't deny the overwhelming amount of data that we have. You can't deny that. At least they should admit that. And if the Pentagon is going to release this report on the 29th, why don't they go into their archives, in their basement archives, and pull up all the gun camera footage that's been sitting there for 60 years? Now, we know they have it, so don't try to tell us they don't have it. We know they have it. We're not going to let them get away with it.
Do you think they might have just deleted or destroyed these tapes for...
No. They have multiple repositories. They operate on the policy of no single point failure. So if something gets burned down at one location, they've got to back up at another location. There's no way they're going to let that stuff get destroyed over some fire or a flood. So that the government is going to operate on that policy. They're going to have multiple copies in different locations. For sure. Go back to Colonel Wendell Stevens. He talked about flying over the Arctic regions in B-29s. This is a known fact. It's not a debate. They've got it. Where they had B-29s outfitted with monitoring equipment, acoustic radar, visual motion picture film reel cameras, and they're flying over the Arctic region, and they've got camera footage of these disc-shaped craft taking off from the ice and then flying between the trailing edge of the main wing and the leading edge of the horizontal stabilizer, locking itself in there while all the cameras are going, and they got it all on film. So they can't tell us that they don't have the data.
So it's bizarre because this countdown to disclosure, we're supposed to be getting into the whole idea where these things are coming from. And when they're denying this to the public, do you think the private conversation, the top secret behind the scenes conversation in this countdown is going to be disclosed to our senators and Congress guys? Because I know there's a top secret discussion on this as well in this disclosure.
There will be an unclassified report probably delivered to the public, but I still think it's going to be whitewashed. And what's really going on behind the scenes, I still think the giggle factor is in place. We're making progress, but we're still not there yet.
What do you mean the giggle factor?
Even Gordon Cooper. Well, the giggle factor. You can when they talk about this, the press secretary at the White House, when the subject of UAP comes up and the report comes up, they start smirking. It happens every single time. So even after all this, we still have the giggle factor in place. They're still making fun of this. Now we're making progress, but we're still not there yet.
But it seems like now one step forward, two, maybe 80 years a step back. You know, it's like, it's frustrating just because they're just going to disregard this. They're not asking the right questions. They're not demanding the evidence.
You can talk to David Marler, who's got like now the largest private collection of UFO files, like basically in the world, because he has gotten the QFOS files. All those cabinets went to his Albuquerque location. He will tell you that this field is not for lack of data. Okay, we've got plenty of data. No problem there. We've got reports. We've got radar footage. We've got eyewitness reports. We've got sketches. We've got color illustrations, and, reliable witnesses. Now, all that stuff can't be denied. You can't just throw 80 years of sightings out the door and just think, 2017 to now we're dealing with UAP phenomena. No, it's not going to go down like that.
So let me ask you, Michael, why don't they, if they're going to have this adjournment or this countdown to disclosure in regards to the Senate, the Congress, why not have another hearing and get to the public's information and their evidence? What are they afraid of?
They should, but even our congressmen and senators, right? These are our publicly elected officials. Even they don't have a need to know. They don't have a need to know. They're not going to get access to it. And that's how this rolls. That's how it goes. They're just not going to release it. When you talk about the crown jewels in the government, it's not going to come out. So we may be looking at an absolute, complete whitewash and a nothing burger.
I know. I don't like the taste of nothing burgers. I think,
right.
My goodness.
Right.
Go ahead.
Even Gordon Cooper knew, Gordon Cooper, astronaut Gordon Cooper, he knew that the only way that this is going to move forward is if the actual evidence is handed to the scientific community as a united coalition. Then we might make some progress.
I've been speaking with a physicist, and he sits on the Smithsonian panels at points, and he's stating that he thinks there's technology, or whatever the technology behind this is, defying physics. So if we can't do it and nobody else could do it, then it has to be something not of this earth. Do you think it's possible that the technology that we're seeing is within technology ascertained and maybe crash retrieval that exists now that's being utilized, maybe reverse engineered? It's been 70 years now. That
is the $64 million question, isn't it? Isn't it? Like, Is Kingman real, right? 48 Aztec, 53 Kingman, 1941 Cape Girardeau. All these crash retrieval stories, are they real? Did they really capture something? That's really what it all really boils down to. Because extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and just some report that they release on 29th is not going to do it. We're going to need the bombshell physical evidence to move this forward. Nothing less will do.
Are we going to get, is it possible to even get this? It seems that the powers that be are in total control of the storyline, the script, the narrative, and we're only getting questions that are only asked because they're not going to answer the hard questions. Why is that?
I think it's by design. It's by design. Greer talks about the utilities. Yeah, that's true. There is a factor there. Because if these things are let loose, then that would have a major impact on the oil industry, on the coal-fired industry, the nuclear power industry. It's a multi-trillion-dollar industry. And if you release these crown jewels, they won't like it. Bottom line.
Here's a theory that I'm coming up with. Let's just say if we reverse engineer the Tic Tac, and we have it in possession by a private corporation. What if the price tag on the Tic Tac is $1 trillion? There's no demand for it because nobody could afford this Tic Tac. It's too expensive. We build 270 of these things, and our country would go bankrupt. So is this maybe the reason why they're not rolling it out? It's impossible to roll it out because of the high technology and the expense behind it.
I think that cost figure is a little bit too high. I think they can do it for much less. And there's more than one way to get to Rome, as they say. So it's not just one system they're using. There's multiple propulsion systems. I don't think it would just be one system. If the breakthroughs truly were made in 54, 55, they've had all this time to work on it. And when Lonnie Zamora saw his craft, they already had a 10-year jump on it. So that checks out. And if you look at the eyewitness reports, what they're seeing and what they're describing, it sounds very mechanical, very man-made to me. I'm not the only one, because he described just before that egg-shaped craft took off in Socorro, he described hearing a banging noise, like someone was closing a submarine hatch door. Then he said, a few seconds later, there was another banging noise, like someone was latching something, some type of latching mechanism. Then we hear a lot of this talk about this high-pitched drilling sound before these things take off. That could be like the powering up of a Wimshurst generator. Then he said there was a loud roar and flames came out of the bottom of it. That does not sound extraterrestrial. It had 4 pogo landing gears. There were small-statured test pilots wearing these one-piece white, tight-fitting flight suits. That doesn't sound alien. And just before he saw it, there was a family on vacation driving right through Socorro, and one of these egg-shaped craft dropped right down over their car and buzzed their vehicle about 1 foot off the top roof of their vehicle. And they actually went inside to the police department. They issued a report, and the report stated that, you people really fly your planes low around here. So they were buzzing the whole area. This does not sound alien in any respect. Why would they need an exhaust port like the Space Shuttle Orbiter main engines? Why would they need an exhaust nozzle if this is an alien spacecraft? And it's a stone's throw away from the northern border of White Sands Missile Range. No, I'm not buying it.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about, but let's say this. The reason why they're not sharing this information is deniability. They don't want the other countries knowing we have this technology, for one, and they're going to play kind of stupid in regards to where is this coming from. We're getting this MO. Could this be the reason why they just don't want to admit we have this technology to our adversaries?
Well, I think one reason they're sweeping it under the carpet is because if they do admit to it, then they're going to have to admit that they've been lying all this time. and one thing will lead to another, and it'll never end. The questions will never end, and they just don't want to deal with it. They figured, we'd just rather whitewash the whole thing, rebrand it as UAP, and we're out the door, and they'll never know the difference. That's how it looks like it's going to go down. We're not going to get a grand announcement. President Biden is not going to get up and say, ladies and gentlemen, the question of whether or not we're alone in the universe has been answered. We're not going to get that. We're not going to get it. After all this time, after all this buildup, we're still not going to get it. So it's going to be up to us, like it always is.
I
trenches. It's the only way.
I hear your frustration, and you've been you're a military historian working on this military aerospace historian. And I know that you want to bring this into the archive as something historical, something that we've accomplished. There's this technology that it seems that we're missing out on. And I guess they're just going to roll it out in this breadcrumb way and just procrastinate this over and over and over again. And we're going to be fed the same script. We're not going to get anything from these guys.
Yeah. That's what it looks like. And again, I'm not the only one saying it. Gordon Cooper, no less than Gordon Cooper, he talked about a number of things. Number one, and I got this from a very good friend of his before he passed away, like his best friend. Number one, we're 100 years behind where we should be. That's the first thing. Number two, why are we still building houses by pounding nails into boards? We've been doing that for 250, 300 years. Even more. What are we doing with this backward technology? He talked about a revolution in aerospace, aircraft, transportation, shipping. We're so far behind where we should be. It's a laughable joke. We're the ones that they're laughing at. We're the ones of the mockery of everything. We're so far behind where we should be. It's a laughable joke. It really is. That's the point he made. Bottom line, we're 100 years behind where we should be, at the very least.
Yeah, the Jetsons comes to mind. That's, it should have happened a long time ago, and we should be enjoying the technology, reaping the benefits of this technology that we've created or reverse engineered. Either way, let's get back to this Drudge report. Is there anything that came in there that stood out as you're reading this? What do we take away from it?
I just read the front page part of it and then looked at the Pentagon spokesman, and there was a person that asked the White House press secretary, don't tell us what it is. Tell us what you've ruled out. And all he would say is, I'm not going to usurp the Pentagon report coming out later this month. That's all he would say. He wouldn't even rule out what we think it's not. He wouldn't even rule that out. So again, we're at square one here. We're not moving any forward. And I just think that everybody around the world is like waiting for this big report. It's going to be such a nothing burger. It's going to be a nobody. And we're going to be left hanging. They're going to try to whitewash the last 80 years of ufology. And they're going to discount all the sightings by credible witnesses. And it doesn't have to be astronauts or cosmonauts. It can be your neighbor. It can be a loved one. It can be a family member. It can be your neighbor. Just because they're not military doesn't mean it's less credible. How about those cases? All the cases in QFOS. There's 60,000 cases there. Could some of them been hoaxes? Sure. But that doesn't mean all of them are.
You're
all that out too.
You're talking my language, Michael. It's like we've got so much evidence in the archives. We've constantly reached out to the major media wanting to get a response. Just at least look at this evidence, and they don't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. We've got thousands of people with incredible videos, testimony from FAA pilots, from lawyers, from fire department, from SWAT team, and they don't even want to touch that.
That's right. Yep, there you go. Cape Girardeau. What about that whole case? Was that true? We've got some good, solid information on Kingman. Is that true? Is that a hoax? What about Aztec? Scott and Suzanne Ramsey put more information.
Let me say this, Michael.
More research. Yeah.
Speaking of hoaxes, it's crazy. We're looking at Fox News and CNN. They have these talking heads in regards to this phenomenon happening, and it's the same people. But in the B-roll in the background, they continue to share this phone app showcasing total phone app CGI videos over and over again, and they don't even want to deal with the public. What's that all about? They know better. They know exactly what those videos aren't legit, but they're continuing to show it. It's crazy.
I don't put any stock in any news anchor regarding this subject whatsoever. What do they know? That's not even a part of their personality profile. They're not going down and looking through the files and digging through things. They're not doing that. So how can they speak with any authority? And I don't know, you guys talk about a narrative. Yeah, it sounds like they're just following the party line. This tracks with what Greer said.
Yeah, it's in track. And
nobody wants to come forward, and you guys put all this effort in, and you extended out an olive branch to all these people, and not one person wants to come forward. What does that tell us?
Good question. What does that tell us? They were all invited. We heard their reactions. Some of it was quite hostile. Again, Nick Pope was a gentleman about it, but again, none of them wanted to talk with a former colleague that's been involved in this for years. Not saying that we're swallowing the red pill of what Greer says, but again, Greer is a major presence in this field, and just to deny and having a simple adult conversation is boggling to me.
All I'm saying is that at this point right now, at this juncture, with the next 25 days that we've got to count down for this, we cannot let the United States government get away with sweeping under the carpeting the last 80 years of ufology. All the research that people have done long before we ever came around, all of this just can't be forgotten. It's got to be preserved as an important part of our national history. It has to be.
We've got a UFO patriot over here. His name is Michael Schratt, and I appreciate him coming on, letting us know about this Drudge drop and the information behind it. We're going to be hearing a lot more coming up, but apparently coming in this countdown to disclosure, I guess the only information we're all going to get is in our documentary and the follow-up sequel, because we're on the road going across country dealing with the public, and we're going to be meeting with Michael this July. We're going to be discussing a lot of stuff that's going on in real time. So, Michael, appreciate you joining us tonight. It's been a wild ride, and man, thanks for your passion. And I could hear that I'm frustrated too. We're all frustrated. We're not giving up the fight yet.
It's great to be with you guys, and you two guys are the tip of the spear.
Appreciate that. It's humbling to hear that. Michael, you take care, and everybody out there, if you've captured anything amazing, we're going to blow it wide open. The public's got the voice. The public is the disclosure. My email, my contact is in the description below. This is Blake Cousins. We'll see everybody real soon. We got some new UFOs just in, but I wanted to break this down with this impromptu conversation with Michael. Take care, everybody. We'll see you real soon.